Sorry, guys. The child was getting out of alignment in here. But yes, like along with nearing the end of the 20s, I'm not stopping once again. I have just been really getting like super, super comfortable in my skin and, in the person that I have developed and become. Super, super comfortable, and that is all along with what I wanted to discuss here today, you know, about just making sure that you are really tapping into yourself enough to know what you really need for your life, especially once again, all the things that's going on in the world, and everything that can be distracting to us. It's very easy to get off track of what we should be doing, what we want to be doing, as well as what we need to be doing, So it's very, very important that, staying disciplined in what is necessary for you in order for you to continue to work at the goals that you have is very, very important. I feel like knowing and having an idea of what you want to do with your life can be a very interesting and draining and frustrating process, especially when you haven't had a lot of the tools necessary to identify like what is your core values with this and what your belief system may be on this. Like when you haven't really sat to really figure that out for yourself, it may be a little difficult. It may be a little difficult, but at the same time, it's something that you're honestly going to be working at until we leave this earth. It's something I've always accepted too, because you have people that really, I guess, will maybe stay in that same place and see how that benefits them versus somebody who, you know, really made a or useful impact to others, based upon how they took advantage of what they did while they were here. So, and sometimes I often think about it, like the type of older person that I want to be. So it's very important that you really take in. I keep banging this mic. Take control over what you want to do with your life and navigate it in a way where you get what you want. You have to also keep in mind that you will evolve into different phases of your life, different phases of the person that you are becoming. Okay. I think too, also something that can be important when it comes to alignment too is who you're around. A lot of times when we talk about this imposter syndrome, poor Mike, when we talk about this imposter syndrome, I feel like it does come from what your belief system is about yourself, as well as what was pushed onto you to believe. For example, you might have been like a talented kid growing up, and because you may have been multi talented in many areas, you may have been like gaslighted a little bit to think that you were smaller than what you really were. I think it's very important to go back to the things you did as a child. I literally was pondering on this, like I said, 28, it's been a time, but I was pondering on this for myself because I was just like reaffirming what my passions and purposes and stuff is for being here and what I feel like God really has for me. And so in order for me to like really figure that out, I had to take it back to the old days. And I'm like, what were some things that I used to do so loving and so freely, before all these things started transpiring in my childhood. And a few things was definitely dance. Dance has always been a passion, and that's something I will definitely always thank my mom for like investing in, because that's something that I still stick with to this day. And just the thought, talk about alignment again, because so many things that now I'm able to take advantage of and looking to get started in different projects that I'm working on is very much affirming that this is like a passion. Another thing was what a lot of people don't know is I'm somewhat an author. I did technically write a book, but I was very much always into poetry and writing. I wrote my first book at 14, and I'm working on my second book now at 28. So even then, though, the way my penmanship was, as well as being able to speak to a reader, at 14 in such a way where it not only keeps the interest of the person, but it's like it was very mature, I would say, for the age, because I read it back not too long ago, and I'm like, wow, I actually look forward to writing the next one and publishing it, because then I can kind of see like where we're at with things. But even at that, I'm like, you know what? I had one more too. Oh, poetry's writing. I feel like it was one more. Oh, and talking, as you see now. All three, technically four, if you're adding poetry and author. But all of these things I did, you know what I'm saying? So it made me realize like these are the things that you have to keep going with. Keep talking, keep writing, keep dancing, you know what I'm saying? Because these are things that you are like, that are like grounded passions, something you've been doing and investing for a long time. So that was something I would highly recommend to you if you're really trying to figure out these few things for yourself. Where did it start? Where did it begin before I feel like my innocence was taken, is what you can ask yourself, because a lot of times once your child recognizes like, or starts putting that fear in their life, and they start like becoming more closed and more reserved, and not really tap into those natural passions and stuff anymore, it really can be a sad thing. And even when we talk about, like I said, so even in the environmental thing with imposter syndrome, like a lot of times people are scared to evolve because they feel like, well, I feel fake. This doesn't even feel real. This is not even me. When in all actuality, any day that you wake up, like you really can take advantage of it in a new way. You can literally wake up any day and choose to say hey or nay, to something new, or to change something, in a better direction, whatever that may be for you. So don't allow people stuck behavior and stuck mentality keep you from thinking that it's wrong to change. We're going to change. You evolve so much, or at least we should be evolving so much. So don't be embarrassed about changing, and especially doing it on the public aspect. That's for sure. And as you do more work on yourself, especially in the adult world, what you're going to find is there is so many people that project their insecurities onto others. And even in the adult world, we really don't have an age requirement on maturity. You have older ones acting like the younger, and sometimes the younger acting more mature than the old. So it's like it's there definitely depends on how you're flipping the coin is how you're going to get it. But I just feel like that's why the focus has to be you constantly listening to your voice, because you're going to find as you evolve through life, like not everybody has it all figured out. That's first of all. And secondly, not everybody feels like you should even deserve to want something bigger than bigger than the cards you may have been dealt. Isn't that deep? Like I've been, honestly, we want to talk about that probably soon too, next video maybe. But very much need to be dissecting people's, once again, insecurities, but like where a lot of that stuff stems from is very, very real. And honestly, the reward can only be returned on the investment. How much investing have you done into yourself? I'm a person, I invest in myself physically, I invest into myself mentally, spiritually, like all the above. Because as you begin to really grow in life, you'll find out what really works for you, what doesn't. But then you also just realize like not everybody is doing the same investing. Not everybody cares to really be a new person. Some people are very much okay with being same place, same space, years pass, same place, same space. And we just have to respect everybody's wishes for what they want for their life. But at the same time, if you are trying to get in alignment and get some results in yours, you're going to have to know, one, how to really navigate those relationships, as well as being open minded to meeting new people. Another part of being in alignment. It's all phases, and you're wherever you might be in the process might be different from where somebody else might be in the process. So don't rush or hold up your process for anybody else. Another thing, even in regards to alignment too, is like really taking life for very much what it is. Sometimes even I can very much guilty of this, a lot more in my immature stages, where you really are, I don't want to even say obsessed, but it could be things that naturally you feel like you deserve. You may feel like, dang, I really do naturally deserve or desire this type of friendship. I naturally feel like I deserve and desire this type of bond, with a parent or a sibling or a family member. So it's so many different things that can occur in life that's just not fair. Just not fair. And part of aligning yourself to is really finding out what it is you need to accept in life. Because a lot of people's stagnancy comes with not accepting their reality, trying to have something that's not for them, trying to be something that's not for them. So many people can get hooked up in that hurdle that it really will stop a lot of active progress and you seeing the different things in your life that you would like, because you're not really tapped in as much as you think you are. And it's very easy to get caught up opinions and with people's insecurities and so many things. Oh my goodness, it really is. But the more you do, the more you'll be able to step back when you notice it and be like, whoa, oh, this is projection. Oh, whoa, this is something else. You'll notice it more and more. And I'm honestly going to tell you, once you notice it more and more, you're going to be quiet. It will have you sitting down in silence, because I have surely have been. Sometimes, as you see, I still be yapping. But yeah, it will literally have to do like in some deep meditation points just on how the world really is, how people really are, really are. Experience is truly our greatest teacher. So we cannot deny that. Okay. Even as I have matured on a more spiritual note, like I used to really think like different things when it came to people talking about like the universe and, excuse me, different laws like law of attraction, law of, you know, different laws, and where I'm at with that, you were following. I used to be, because I was kind of like put into a mind frame that a lot of these things is like, oh, so demonic, and oh, so this. And what I have done for myself is realize what I want to do and look at what's for me versus what is not. And what is my intention for doing this? Because we have to recognize that in everything good, there has been somebody that has used it for bad, and vice versa. So you have to, once again, everything goes back to you. If you set out what your intention is and why you do and what this is, and you're getting the guidance that you need from your higher power, and God can help you guide yourself through, especially hopefully, I highly recommend you believe in one, a higher source, because God is just so also real, and so transparent and outside of this boring box that we like to really put him in, because it's like we shouldn't be feeling like God, we have to catch up. But shouldn't have to really feel like it's this race, for change, or, oh, I need to do this first before this. Like, the way that you evolve on a real note is genuinely, people don't even get to see. You know what I'm saying? So it's all factors back into you. What are you listening to? What are you allowing opinion wise to penetrate into your mind to make you feel and dictate your moves the way that you do? All questions that we need to be asking ourselves. The power of intuition also will work in harmony with you getting yourself in order, as well as shifting things into alignment into your life to get the results that you want, because our bodies never lie. Let me tell you something. The best gift God could have gave us is intuition, seriously. Because that's something you can't even really switch. You can never like go wrong with it. And cuz you can't even say like, "Oh, you have a wrongly trained intuition." Like, no, that wouldn't be really intuition. That would be something else, like fear or some type of other emotion that is just really covering it up. But intuition is very interesting, and it's kind of been an interesting lesson I've had in my life recently, because it's something where you can ignore it all you want, but everything around you is going to reveal the ignorance that you're having towards it. Even God's gift to women, our women's intuition is so real. But this is where the maturity level comes in, because you have some people who can get irrational, or use it to their downfall, because they're not mature. This is why it all has to add up, the alignment portion, because without thinking right, of course you're not going to do right. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't even make sense. So it's very important that, you're constantly checking in with yourself and breaking down, what you need. I like to have little weekly check-ins with myself, like, okay, what is this? What do I got going on? How is this? How is this? You know what I'm saying? Because it keeps you on track. You know what I'm saying? And focus on what is important to you. Like I said, and everybody is different. So what works for me might not work for you, and vice versa. But aren't we all trying to get to the same goal? And if not, it will all reveal itself, honestly. I'm trying to get to my goals. That's all that matters. But and it was so crazy, right? Because once again, once you really learn how everything all is in harmony, one thing, and this might be a little deep, right? One thing I thought about was how, you ready? God really don't answer our prayers on a time when it comes to when we say like, oh, reveal this, show this, all this, right? Or no, should I say God? I didn't mean to say that. God does not make choices for us, nor does he forces us into making certain choices. The whole thing is to benefit self, right? So that may be on so many different levels based upon a person and their journey that they're on. So if you might not find this form or this way or whatever the case may be beneficial, it doesn't matter how great it is to this person or great it is over there. You have to tap into self to really figure out what works for you. And everything does not work for everybody. And that's another part of adulting that I am at too. You have so many people trying to force all these ideologies and perspectives down everybody's throat when it's like, who said that? You know what I'm saying? And so much choice is really left up to us in free will that once you really do tap into it, you really do see that it's not that worldly thing that everybody like to glorify. It's like, oh, God forbid you take control of your own life. It's like, I hate to say it, but I'm trying to save it for another video, but that's old slave mentality. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're thinking for yourself. You're stepping outside the box to go ahead, and you will literally, once you sit back and start seeing that, just that one thought alone on so many people, that it will really be mind blowing. But it will be reassuring to you that, dang, me being an adult, I really have to take control of my life. You know what I'm saying? I really have to take control. There's nobody coming to save us in the adult world. So it's very important that you really take advantage of everything you can to be as much as a evolving and growing and loving, and whatever your goal is for yourself characteristic wise, throwing it in there, whatever that is, being that, you got to keep yourself in alignment, and you got to keep yourself tight and disciplined on what you need for yourself in order to get to those goals. But what I was saying about the how it's so real, like God will never make a choice for you. However, everything around that he has it set up will reveal itself, right? So I was just thinking about this the other day. I'm like, wow, like he's never going to tell you what to do. But what will he do? That intuition will kick in. You might end up just taking a physical toll on the whole entire thing, because you're still fighting it. You know what I'm saying? You're still fighting it. And one thing about when we know what we should be doing and we go against ourselves, as women, I can say first, because the guilt be so internal, we project it out to others. So even recently, I was just thinking about this, and I'm like, oh wow, like this is really real. Like when you see like a lot of women that's just mad, you know what I'm saying, mad and in a disarray, because sometimes that can be based off choices we have made in our lives that we have not fully, sat with ourselves and accepted. But all in all, the next day, a new day, you know what I'm saying, can evolve for you to change, and dwell in your softness and figure out what those things are and turn away from being like that. That's why I said everybody's journey is so personal and so transparent that if we really did start embracing these differences and our trials and our downfalls, if we just started embracing those things so much more, I really think it will really bring a lot of healing to the world. But that's a far stretch. That's why you just gotta pray on that one. And then where the instant gratification comes in, that what you were supposed to do, because what it was supposed to be for somebody else might be different for you, is how you feel. You know, because lasting like vibes, or just like that feeling of just like, oh, this feels good, like, that is going to always resurface itself. Even if it's like, okay, we had a bad day, a bad week, a bad month, you feeling that reassurance of what you're doing is always going to resurface itself. So when you don't get it, that's where you sit down and kind of have a conversation like, okay, I'm feeling this doesn't seem, check in with you. Only you can really tell you what's going on with you. But a lot of people don't even know how to identify what's going on with them. And another thing will be, the smaller the mind, the smaller the perspective. So a lot of times, when you may be talking to some people and it just may seem like, what am I talking to? A lot of times it's because, once again, back to that small-minded perspective, I actually said slave mentality is what I like to call it, because we really don't realize like how far off, like, slavery really wasn't that long ago. And a lot of like our great grandmothers or great, grandparents may have even had experiences, you know what I'm saying, even of a maybe within the, figure 19, yeah, time is really getting crazy, because 1900s, like, that's drifting. So even when you say the 80s now, it's like, sheesh, but time has really evolved, but it really hasn't got that far as we may have think. So you have to break down certain like thought patterns and stuff that have been like normalized in the world. Certain ways that people operate. Like, those are the real generational curses that I think a lot of us don't really dive into. Like, what's the generational curse of like how we all think over here? Which is why we all making the same dumb decisions, right? Like, that's another form of like a very realistic and tangible way to dive into generational curses. A lot of times we do associate it with wealth so much that we forget that there's other things other than money that we need to be breaking on our line. And when you're constantly looking at yourself, and you're saying like when you're stepping outside of the things that doesn't benefit you, different phases of who you are becoming. So I would be very much trying to give yourself grace in regards to recognizing that this is a process that only you can figure out for yourself, for one. But then two, one that can change. A lot of times we like to get guilted into thinking that change is a bad thing, and the whole time, who's to say we were doing it right from the beginning? So very much, once again, figuring out you, and understanding you and listening to your voice is key. And then we look at ways that does, you'll slowly but surely start leaning in the direction in which you want to go. It might take everybody different times based upon what you're battling, but you'll start leaning into it, and you'll lean into it fully when your body will not let you not. But this is also sometimes where we could put some unnecessary stress on ourselves, because we're trying to maybe get into a different alignment than what we need to be. And now we're putting extra stress on ourselves to meet expectations and do things that honestly are not for us. But only you, once again, can sit up there and say what's for you and dismiss what is not. You have to take ownership over who you are as an adult and not let nobody shake you out of who you are, seriously. Because people will. People will talk you out of who you are if you will allow them and listen to them. So I'm really glad that we got to really sit down and discuss this today, because like I said, I know this has been a main conversation in my life right now. And, we're definitely a little bit more we can be bringing to the table to talk about. But just beautiful message to you off the strength of just know yourselves. Because It's an evolving door of growth in this day and age, and life is not guaranteed. So many times we used to, you hear about, oh, you only live once. People love to associate that so much to somebody wanting to live like a reckless life, when in all actuality, you only live once. So if you're not taking advantage of every day of improving yourself, improving your family quality, improving your friendships, that does not even mean overextending yourself in ways that is not mutual beneficial, because external, it can get a little crazy trying to have different friendships, relationships, and connections with other people that are working on themselves too. But long as you just having a forefront of what you want for you, I really don't see how you could ever go wrong. And I just highly recommend that you just continue to allow who you are to spill over into everything. So how you talk, how you walk. Don't let nobody change who you are. And if you feel like you may have drifted or fell off, not stop listening. You stop listening to that voice, that intuition. If you feel like that, today's the new day. You ain't even gotta wait till tomorrow. Just redirect it. Some people acknowledge it and don't do anything about it, and then that's a whole different ball game. But as soon as you get to the point of being able to acknowledge, the best thing you can do in order to not even be dealing with no unnecessary grief and resentment towards yourself is just follow through and walk in that purpose and ask for the guidance that is necessary for you to identify it for yourself. I'm telling you, nothing better that I could have did with my life than that. And now I'm 28. I'm telling you, stories for days of just growth, evolving, and do not let people put nothing on you, bro. Seriously. So many people right now are so lost because they feel like they have to still live up to an expectation that's not for them. And it's just so not fair. It's so not fair. But only us. We only are the only people that can change the direction where we want to take our life, because we're the only ones that can be real with ourselves to know what we really need. So, once again, I'm so grateful to have you guys time today and get to talk. I'm really excited about a lot of the things that I have coming up. I'm not playing no games, and I've had a lot of things shift into alignment in my personal life for me to really sit up here and validate the importance of this topic. So we will definitely have some more fish to fry very soon. So without any further ado, I will see you in the next video.